Hello there. Tonight, let's settle in beside the workbench of a little candlemaker's shop, somewhere down a quiet lane on a winter evening. It's the kind of place you might step into to shake the snow from your coat and never quite want to leave. A low yellow lamp on the counter, worn wooden shelves lined with honey-coloured beeswax candles, and a single flame already lit beside the till. The windows fogged at the edges, and the snow keeps falling softly past it onto the lane outside. The shopkeeper is somewhere in the back, humming to himself. Oh, and by the way, if you're tired of scrolling for ages just to find something to fall asleep to, we made an app for that. It's called Tonight. The more you listen, the more it learns the kind of stories you like, so there's always one waiting that feels right for you. Nothing to scroll, nothing to decide. Just pick your favorite voice, set a timer, and drift off. It's a free download. The link's just below this video. Take a moment now to settle. Close your eyes if you'd like to. Place a hand on your stomach if it feels good. And take a slow, deep breath all the way down. Feel the belly rise and a long, slow breath out. The smell of warm beeswax is the first thing. Soft, a little like honey. It is in the wood of the counter. It is in the cloth of the curtains. It has been in this room a long time. You have come in out of the cold. Snow is still on the shoulders of your coat. It melts slowly and falls in small, pale drops onto the mat by the door. The shop is small. One room at the front, one room at the back. A long pine workbench runs down the middle of the front room. Brass scissors lie on it. A spool of cotton wick stands beside them. A lamp is lit low on a shelf above the door. Another sits on the counter by the till. The light is yellow and steady. The window onto the lane is fogged a little at the edges. Outside, the snow is still falling. You can just see it through the glass. Small, slow flakes against the blue end of the afternoon. There is a brass clock above the door. It ticks once, and once again, and once again. Slow, steady. The kind of clock that has been ticking in the same place for years. From the back room, low and steady, the small hiss of a stove. That is the shop, more or less. Beeswax, the clock, the stove, the lamp, the soft snow on the other side of the glass. For a moment, you stand quite still where you have come in, with the door at your back. When you do move, you move slowly. The floorboards are old and dark and have been walked across many thousands of times. They give a little here and there under your weight, but they do not creak. They have been worn past creaking. Along the right-hand wall, a tall shelf holds the finished candles. They are arranged by height, not by colour. The colours, anyway, are nearly all the same. Pale honey, pale cream. Here and there a darker amber, where the wax has been mixed with something a shade richer. Some are slender tapers, some are short stubs, some are wide pillars that would sit on a table all winter. One of the tapers has a small bend near the top, where it must have rested on something while it was still soft. Maren has left it on the shelf anyway. It is a small bend. It will burn just as well as the others. On the left-hand wall, a smaller shelf with rolls of brown paper and lengths of pale string. A pair of shears hangs from a nail. A wooden box holds offcuts of wick, the trimmings. A plain wooden chair stands by the window. The seat is worn smooth. A grey wool shawl is folded across its back. No one is sitting in it just now. A little farther on, near the till, a small saucer holds a piece of sealing wax and a brass stamp. A bus timetable is taped to the inside of the front door, near the handle. It curls slightly at the corners. You notice that the Tuesday column has more times than the other days. Behind the counter, a wooden stool. On the stool, a folded brown apron, ready for the next morning. Beside the stool, a small enamel mug. Empty now, washed and turned upside down on a folded cloth. The till is the old kind, with brass keys and a little drawer that opens with a small chime. The shop is quiet in the way a room is quiet when most of the day's work has been done, and the rest can be done slowly. There is someone here. You did not see her at first. She is in the back room, by the stove. Maren, the candlemaker. She has worked in this shop a long time. Long enough that the smell of beeswax has settled into the wool of her cardigan. She enters from the back, carrying a small copper jug. She sets it on the workbench without looking up. She is wearing the other brown apron. The one on the stool is for tomorrow. Just the wicks now, she says, mostly to herself. She does not seem surprised that you are here. She does not ask anything of you. She simply goes on with what she was already doing. She is perhaps 60, perhaps a little older. Her hair is grey, tied back simply. There is a small piece of dried wax on the cuff of her cardigan that she has not noticed. She has good hands for this work. Patient hands, dry from the wax. The knuckles a little reddened from the cold. She sits down at the workbench. The light from the lamp falls across her hands. From the box beside her, She lifts a long length of cotton wick. It is pale, almost white, and a little stiff. She lays it across the bench in a straight line. The brass scissors come up. They are small and slightly worn at the joint. She cuts a length of wick. Neat, no measuring. The cut comes out just right. Because she has done this 1,000 times. She lays the cut piece down beside the spool. Then another, and another. Each cut is the same length as the last. She does not look up between cuts. The pile of cut wicks grows slowly on the bench. You watch from where you have come to stand near the window. The snow is still falling outside. The lamp is steady. The clock above the door ticks once, and once again. When she has cut enough wicks, she gathers them gently in her palm, like small, pale stems, and lifts them. You hear the back room before you see it more fully. The low, soft hiss of the stove. The very small sound of something, the wax, perhaps, moving in a copper vat. She shuffles into the back room. You follow as far as the doorway. The back room is smaller still than the front. A black iron stove stands against the far wall, glowing softly through its small grill. On top of the stove, 2 copper vats, one shallow and broad, one deeper and narrower. The shallow one holds the beeswax. The deeper one holds water, kept hot beneath the wax, so the wax never has to sit directly on the iron. A water bath, she would call it. The wax in the shallow vat is the colour of dark honey. It moves only a little, a slow shift on the surface. The smell here is stronger, closer. Underneath the wax, you can smell something faint, a clean note, like pine, from a small jar of resin set on the shelf nearby. And something fainter still, lavender perhaps, from a wooden box on the lower shelf. A wooden dipping frame leans against the wall by the stove. It is a simple thing, a long, flat stick with smaller pegs along its length, each peg the right size to take the loop of a wick. On a small side table, a tin of long wooden matches, a clean folded cloth, a pair of leather gloves, soft from years of use, hung from a single nail. Maren ties the first wick onto the first peg of the dipping frame. She does it without looking. Her fingers know the knot. She moves down the frame, tying wick after wick. The wicks hang straight down, evenly spaced, each loop the same size as the last. When she has finished tying, she lifts the frame in both hands. She holds it level over the vat for a beat. She lowers it. The wicks slip down into the warm wax. A quick, smooth movement. No hurry, but no waiting either. She lifts the frame again, and the wicks come up, coated in the thinnest possible layer of honey-coloured wax. She does not dip again straight away. She rests the frame across 2 wooden pegs on the wall, so that the wicks hang free in the air. The wax must cool a little before the next dip. Otherwise, the new layer would melt the last. She turns away. She has time to do something else. She picks up a small enamel mug from a shelf by the stove, takes it to the side, and fills it from a kettle on the back of the iron top. Steam rises from the mug. She wraps both hands around it. She does not drink yet. She just holds it. The smell of the tea, black, plain, no milk, mixes with the smell of the wax, but the wax is stronger. After a minute, she sets the mug down on the windowsill above the stove. She lifts the dipping frame from its pegs. She lowers it again into the wax. Quick, even, up again. The candles are a little fatter now, only a little. She rests the frame back on its pegs. Outside, the snow is still falling. You can see it through the small window above the stove. The light has dimmed another shade. The blue of the dusk has gone deeper. Maren picks up the mug again. She takes a sip this time. She sets it down. She lifts the frame. She lowers it. She lifts it. She rests it. The candles grow another layer. A little while passes. The brass clock above the door. You can hear it from the back room too, if you listen. Ticks once, and once again. She lifts the frame. She lowers it. She lifts it. She rests it. There is a rhythm to it. The rhythm of work, steady and unhurried. After some number of dips, you have stopped counting. Maren rests the frame on its pegs and turns instead to the shelf above the stove. From the shelf, she lifts a block of unmelted wax. It is the size of a small loaf, and the same dark honey colour as the wax in the vat, only solid and a little duller on the surface. She holds it for a moment in her hand, weighing it. Then she lowers it gently into the shallow vat. The wax in the vat closes around the block. The level rises a little. For a few seconds, the new block sits half out, a small island in the warm liquid. Then it begins to soften at its edges, its corners round, its its sides slump. She watches it for a moment. Then she goes back to the dipping frame. She lifts the frame. She lowers it. She lifts it. She rests it. By the next time she returns to the vat, the block has gone, sunk into the rest of the wax, become part of it. Only the level is higher than before. You step back from the doorway and into the front room. The light here feels softer than it did when you came in, although neither lamp has been adjusted. It is only that the dusk outside has deepened. The brass clock above the door ticks once, and once again. The bell on the door makes a small, soft sound. Not the brassy ring of a shop bell, more the way a small bell sounds when it has been padded with cloth. A man comes in. He's older, wearing a dark green coat with snow on the shoulders, and a brown scarf wrapped twice round his neck. He stamps his feet once on the mat. Snow falls off his boots. "Evening, Marin," he says. She has come through from the back, the mug in her hand. "Evening, Tom." "Just the usual." She nods. She goes to the right-hand shelf and takes down 2 of the cream pillars. She wraps them in brown paper, ties them with a single length of string, and ties a small loop at the top for carrying. "That'll be the last till Thursday," she says. "Thursday's fine." She hands him the parcel. He nods. He turns to the door. She smiles. He nods again and goes out. The bell makes its small, soft sound. The cold air comes in for a moment, and then the door closes, and the warmth settles back over the room. You see his shape pass the fogged window. Then it is gone. Outside, his footprints are filling in with snow already. Marin returns to the back room. The candles on the frame have been cooling all this time. You can see from the doorway that they are paler now where the new wax has set. She lifts the frame. She lowers it. She lifts it. She rests it. She does this a few more times. Perhaps 4, perhaps 5. With each dip, the candles look slightly fatter than they did before. The change between any single dip and the next is so small you would not see it. The change over many dips is what makes a candle. After the last dip, she rests the frame on the pegs and steps back. The candles hang straight and even. They are pale honey at the tip, a little darker toward the base. She takes a wide, shallow tray from a shelf beside the stove. She sets it under the dipping frame on the floor to catch any last drips. She lifts the brass scissors from the bench. She crosses to the frame. She kneels slowly, the way someone with a tired back kneels, and trims the bottom of each candle so that it will stand flat. The trimmings fall onto the tray. She does not throw them away. They go back into the box of offcuts by the bench. The candles, trimmed, are lifted off the frame one by one. She unties each knot with the same patience she used to tie them. She lays the candles in pairs, gently, on the long wooden rack along the wall. You watch her do this. There are perhaps 30 candles to come off the frame. She does not hurry, and she does not slow. It is the same pace from the first candle to the last. When the frame is empty, she leans it back against the wall. She wipes her hands on the apron, leaving 2 faint pale marks. She straightens up, pressing one hand briefly to the small of her back. There is one more small task before the sweeping. She lifts a wooden tray from beneath the side table. On the tray are small tin molds, 6 of them, each the size of a small cup, each with a tiny hole in the bottom for the wick to pass through. They are old. The tin is dulled from years of use, with a faint, pale crust of wax along the rims. She sets the tray on the side table by the stove. She threads a length of wick down through the hole in the first mould, draws it through, and ties the lower end in a small knot underneath, so the wick will not slip out. She lays a thin wooden stick across the top of the mould and loops the upper end of the wick around it, so the wick stands straight down the centre. She does this for each mould in turn. 6 moulds, 6 wicks, 6 small wooden sticks balanced across the rims. When they are all ready, she lifts the small copper jug she brought in earlier. She dips it carefully into the shallow vat and brings up a small measure of the warm wax. She tips the jug slowly into the first mould. The wax fills the small space without a sound. It comes almost to the rim, and she stops it there. She pours the second mould, and the third. She works steadily, the jug returning to the vat between pours. She does not spill. The moulds, when they are filled, sit in a neat row on the tray, 6 small, pale circles of warm honey wax, with wicks sticking out of the top. These will be votives, she says. Small candles for the small brass holders by the window, the kind that burn for an evening and no longer. She sets the tray on a low shelf beside the stove, where the wax can cool slowly without being knocked. She wipes the rim of the copper jug with a cloth and hangs the cloth on its nail. Then she lifts a long-handled broom from a hook by the back door. The bristles are soft from use. She sweeps the floor of the back room first, slowly, methodically. Small flakes of dried wax, the trimmings that fell while she cut the wax. These go in front of the brush into a small pile by the door. She sweeps the front room next, around the workbench, around the legs of the chair by the window, and you draw your feet back a little so as not to be in the way. She does not say anything about it. She finishes the pile with a small, flat pan and tips the pan into the box by the back door. The broom goes back on its hook. She lifts a soft linen cloth from a drawer beneath the workbench. She crosses to the rack. She picks up the first candle, one of the slender tapers from the back room frame, and runs the cloth lightly along it, end to end. The cloth comes away with the faintest sheen of wax. The candle is brighter now, a little glossier than before. She sets it back on the rack. She picks up another. She polishes it. She sets it back. It is barely work at all. It is the small finishing touch that no customer would ever notice, but that she does anyway, out of habit more than anything. You can hear, between candles, the small, soft sound of the cloth on wax, and, underneath, the brass clock above the door, and, underneath that, the low, slow hiss of the stove. She polishes candle after candle. The rack glows a little brighter as she goes. Honey pale, soft. When she is finished, she folds the linen cloth in half, and then in half again, and puts it back in the drawer. She crosses to the rack again and gathers 4 of the slender tapers, the freshest ones. She brings them to the counter. From the left-hand shelf, she lifts a length of brown paper and a length of pale string. She lays a candle on the paper. She rolls the paper around it, neatly, without any wasted motion. She ties the string in a single knot, with a small loop at the top. She sets the parcel on the side. She does another, and another, and another. 4 small brown parcels in a row, ready for tomorrow morning. She puts the leftover paper back on the shelf and the leftover string with it. She walks to the front room. She lifts her enamel mug from the back room windowsill, carries it to the front, sets it on the wooden counter. From beneath the counter, she lifts a small ledger, bound in brown cloth, the corners worn pale. She opens it to a page marked with a length of ribbon. She picks up a pencil from a small pot by the till. She writes a short line, a date, a number, the kind of plain entry a shopkeeper writes at the end of the day's work. The pencil makes a small, soft sound on the paper. She turns the page. She writes another short line. She closes the ledger. She slips the ribbon back into place. She puts the ledger back beneath the counter. The pencil goes back into the pot. She leans against the counter. She's not in a hurry to do anything else. The clock above the door ticks. The stove from the back makes its low, wheezing sound. "There's tea on the side," she says. You look. There is a second mug, just as plain as hers, on the small wooden shelf by the till. A folded cloth beside it. You take it. The mug is warm in your hands. You sit down in the wooden chair by the window, the one with the worn, smooth seat and the grey wool shawl folded over the back. The shawl is soft, older than you would expect, perhaps, knitted by someone who knew how to knit a shawl that would last. You can feel the heat of the mug through your palms. You can smell the tea now. Black. Plain. You can smell the beeswax still underneath everything. Outside, the snow falls. The lane is empty. A lamp has been lit in one of the upstairs windows across the way. The light is small and yellow. It does not move. The brass clock ticks above the door. Your breath has slowed. Your shoulders slump. The mug warms your fingers. You let your head rest against the back of the chair. plastic bucket sits under the workbench, half full of something. You cannot quite see what. Sand, perhaps, or salt. One of the lampshades is fractionally crooked, has been all evening, and no one has straightened it. The till is closed. The drawer has been locked already, sometime when you weren't looking. A small calendar hangs on the back of the door. The month is almost over. Tomorrow, she will turn the page. Maren puts down her mug. She takes a long match from the small tin on the counter. She strikes it against the side of the tin. It catches with a small, soft sound. She lights one of the candles on the rack, one of the newly polished ones, and sets it in a brass holder on the counter. The flame steadies. The match goes into a small saucer of sand beside the till. The lamp by the till. She dims now. She turns the small key on its base. The light shrinks down to a small, warm pool. The candle on the counter is enough. The shop is dimmer. Outside, you can see the snow falling against the dark. The brass clock ticks. The stove from the back makes its low, wheezing sound. She wipes the counter once with a cloth and folds the cloth and sets it down. She takes her mug to the back room. Time passes. You do not know how long. The candle on the counter burns. Its light is small and steady. The wax does not drip. Across the lane, the upstairs lamp has gone dark. The window opposite is dark now. Another window, 2 doors down, is lit. The snow falls. The clock ticks. Your hands have come to rest on the warm sides of the mug. Maren passes through the front room. She's changed into a plain, dark cardigan. She does not say anything. She takes the grey shawl from the back of the chair, gently, so as not to disturb you, and drapes it across your shoulders. You hear her shuffle away into the back room. The shawl is light and warm. You let yourself sink a little farther into the chair. The candle, the clock, the snow. Just the candle, just the clock, just the slow snow on the other side of the glass. There is no hurry to anything. The lamp by the till is low. The candle on the counter flickers. The shelves and the workbench have gone soft at their edges. The brass clock ticks. A little farther down the lane, a single figure passes, head down against the snow. They are there for a moment, and then they are gone. The lane settles into silence. The candle burns. The clock ticks. The snow falls. Your eyes have grown heavy. You let them rest where they want to rest. On the candle, perhaps. On the dark beyond the glass. On the soft pale shapes of the candles on the shelf. From the back room, the soft sound of a kettle being set down on a shelf. The stove door being opened once and closed. Then, quiet. The shop is quiet. The day's work has been done well and slowly, and the night has been let in. The candle on the counter has not changed at all that you can see. It is the same small flame it was an hour ago, or perhaps a little smaller. You cannot quite tell. The shawl is warm across your shoulders. The mug is still in your hands, although the tea has gone cool by now. You do not mind. The brass clock ticks above the door. Once, and once again, and once again. Outside, the snow keeps coming. It is settled along the bottom of the window in a pale ridge. The lane is empty. The far lamp at the bend is still lit. The candle burns. The clock ticks. Just the candle. Just the snow. and the dark, quiet shop